next accessory you definitely should buy that you might not be thinking about is this, the PlayStation 5 Media Remote. I actually unboxed mine already, so here it is right here. It looks awesome. It's just a little white remote that uses AA batteries, but the reason you're going to want this is because the PS5 is actually a killer media streaming center device machine. So in my living room, I have a Roku TV, and I liked it just fine before, but over the years, the Roku side of it has been slowing down a lot. When I boot up YouTube TV and I'm trying to watch AMC Fear Fest, getting to the menu where it's actually like showing me the channels takes a long time. And I don't know if you've ever loaded up HBO Max on a Roku, but you could be sitting there for like 45 seconds guessing whether or not the app is working at all. The PS5, you don't have to worry about any of that. It all works great. But the reason you want this media remote, if you are using your PS5 as a media device, is the battery in the DualSense is horrible. It dies so quick because there's an LED light on it. And if you're using it while you're watching a movie or anything like that, you can turn it off manually when you're done using it, but then there's menus on the screen and it's just annoying. You always forget to turn it off, and then when you want to go play a game, the battery's dead. And that's where the media remote comes in, because it can control your PS5 from go. You can turn it on and off with the remote because it has a built-in PlayStation button, and they smartly put buttons on the remote that open up apps like YouTube, Spotify, Disney Plus, and Netflix. I don't want to pretend this thing is the best gift from God or whatever. I just really like it, and it's only $30. So if you don't have one just yet, you should go pick it up. Again, it's linked down in the description. Speaking of the DualSense battery sucking, if you're getting annoyed plugging that thing into the front of your PS5 with the USB-C cord like I was because it's in my media center and it looks horrible when I'm charging the controller out the front, you should check out this official PlayStation charging dock for the DualSense controller. This thing's pretty simple. It has a cord that plugs into the wall and you drop the controller on it and you're not using it. I shouldn't have to explain how a battery charging device works to you, hopefully, but the cool thing about it is if you hold it vertically, it just looks like a PS5. They really thought ahead on this one and made all the accessories look like the PS5. So if you did pick up the media remote and your DualSense is always dying, this is a good option for you. This thing is also $30, just like the media remote, so for the price of a game, you can get the media remote and keep your DualSense charged all the time, and your battery will never die. Now, an area where Xbox has had Sony themselves beat for 2 generations now is having pro controllers for their consoles. The Xbox Elite controller is pretty good. It's very expensive, for sure, but people seem to really like it. And I really been kind of waiting for Sony to have a competitor, but in the meantime, we have some custom options here that I think is pretty good. So the first one I got is this controller from my friend Cody. This one is crazy. It has LED all over it, and then the top is on the touchpad, and the touch it, it changes the LED color from the way it is. It looks really good. He did it all custom himself, and also the battery lasts about 2 times longer on this controller because he put a fat battery in it, which I really appreciate. Some other features included are that the triggers are buttons, which is good for first-person shooters, obviously, if you're not having to pull the trigger all the way. Now, that does get rid of the whole like adaptive trigger thing, but again, if you're playing an FPS, I feel like most people playing competitively have already turned that feature off, because while it is cool and stuff like Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War's story, but when you get into multiplayer and start dying because you gotta yank the trigger so hard, you just turn that thing off right away. So if you really want to get the competitive edge, these button triggers are awesome, and then on the back, you've got paddles that you can remap to any button you want. This is great. In my favorite game to play on my PS5, Destiny 2, I do reload and jump on the paddles, and it's awesome. You never really have to take your thumbs off the sticks that way, which is the whole goal, because if you're playing competitively, right, like I'm in Iron Banner or Trials, and I'm taking my thumbs off the sticks, that's me just sitting there looking like an idiot waiting to get sniped. You know, now if I map some buttons to these back paddles, I have a little bit more of a competitive edge. And guys, I am not that great in multiplayer gaming. I need that edge if I can get it. But if you're looking for a more official option that's still not necessarily official, you can also go with the Hex Gaming controller. Now the difference here is that if you go on Hex Gaming site, you can customize the hell out of this thing. You can pick the colorway from top to bottom. You can change any part of this thing. I made mine a little bit more understated. I went with a black and red chrome look that looks kind of like Miles Morales to me. I don't know why, maybe just because it's black and red, but you can also customize things like the stick to get a little bit more grip, a little bit more travel. The only thing I don't like is that there's no real way to get all the button features on the real button. So like, because it's copyrighted the first and thought, you can't actually put it on there. And then also the PlayStation button, but that's like less egregious to me. I wish I could have got the PlayStation buttons on the button, but having matte black buttons is pretty cool. Now this controller has regular triggers, which is fine, so if you want to make sure you have a Pro option that has regular triggers, this is definitely the one to go with. You can also customize those, so I made the R1 and L1 black, but I made the triggers red because I thought that looked cool even though I never see them. And then finally, this one also has the back panel attachment, which you can also customize the color of. Now Hex has a bunch of different designs for their colorways too. They have like a Japanese wave, they have some other stuff that's not official, but it looks pretty cool. So if you want a picture on your controller versus having a clear one or a solid color, they got you covered. Now one thing everyone who buys a PlayStation 5 should go get immediately is a headset with a good mic, because while there is a microphone in your DualSense, it defaults to on, which is super annoying, and then also it's very bad. So when I'm playing Back 4 Blood, every time I get into breathing and eating chips now, because the PlayStation microphone is defaulted to on in the DualSense, and the game defaults to having the mic always open. So no matter what, just because you have a mic on the controller, whenever you get a new multiplayer game, just go ahead and go into the settings and see if your mic is set to always on, because no one wants to hear your mom yelling at you to take a shower because you haven't showered in 5 weeks because you're a gamer, you know? So one option you've got is the official one, which is the Sony Pulse Wireless 3D headset. Now people swear by this thing. I didn't like it when it originally came out. I thought the bass was a little weird and just it sounded a little tinny to me. I don't know. I didn't love it all that much. But they've updated the PS5 since then, and they added a feature in the last big update that allows you to mess with the EQ of these bad boys, and that turned out to be the only issue. You just have to mess around with the sound settings on your PS5, and once you get it just right, they actually sound really good. It was more a PS5 end thing than a headphone end thing, which is awesome. These things also only run you around $100, which is pretty cheap, and they feel pretty high quality for $100. I mean, they're all plastic and rubber. They're kind of light, but the battery lasts a long time, and they feel sturdy, which is important. And finally, they're comfortable. That's the most important thing here, I think, is that they're comfortable. They fit good on your ears. They've got nice cushions. They feel like a nice premium headset that you only paid $100 for. And the best part is, they come in black. Sony has an official black option for these, as well as the DualSense. Come on guys, give us those dark plates, the official ones, we need them. Another option which is a little bit more expensive at $139-ish that I honestly prefer is the SteelSeries Arctis 7P. Now SteelSeries has two versions of the Arctis 7. They have Arctis 7X and P. X obviously stands for Xbox, that one comes in black and will not work on your PS5, so they're losing points there for not having a black option for PS5, because the 7P only comes in white. But it sounds really good, it's really well constructed, the speakers sound just a little bit better to me overall. Even after you tune this Pulse 3D wireless headset, it still sounds a little bit worse than the Arctis 7P. That's just my opinion, and you might like the other one better. It's totally down to your personal taste. My favorite thing about it, whereas the 7P comes with the USB-C one that's very nondescript, understated. It also works with the Nintendo Switch, which is great, and your PC. So if you want a pair of headphones that you can use on your PS5 and your Switch effortlessly and wirelessly, you should definitely go with the Arctis 7P. Both of these headsets also take advantage of 3D audio, which is a feature that Sony's pretty good about supporting on their first-party games. The game that I noticed it the most in was Ghost of Tsushima. It sounds awesome in that game. So if you've never tried 3D audio and you get one of these headsets, make sure you go into the settings and have it turned on, because it really needs to be heard to be believed. It's like virtual surround sound that actually works. And as far as customization goes, if you're not a fan of the white PS5 like me personally, there are a few options for you, but they're dwindling pretty quick. So Dbrand came out of the gate with a pair of dark plates that were really cutting it close to the PlayStation 5 official version. They even had a little texture on the inside that totally did not have the PlayStation buttons, but totally did. Like the circle was a radioactive sign, the triangle was like a danger sign, but they had all of the different things there. Sony, of course, turned around and sued them and said, yeah, we just got a patent for the design on these plates, so you're going to have to change it up if you want to keep using them. So that's exactly what Dbrand did. They came out with a whole new bunch of different plates for the PS5, and they're calling it Dark Plates 2.0. Now these ones look different than the Sony ones. You know, the Sony ones have those fins. These new Dark Plates are kind of flush with the side of the console, and personally, I don't really like that. And they also add functionality by having cutouts for the fans, which is another thing that, yes, it does add a little bit more thermal performance, but for me, I don't really like the way that looks. But if you're one of those people who thinks it's cool, they've got a lot of options for you. First of all, they have a black one, of course. They also have a white one for people who really like having a white PS5 but want a little bit more thermal performance out of it and like the more flush look of the D-brand plates, which again, if you have an entertainment center that's like small, right, like you can only fit so much in there and you are just missing it by a hair with your PS5, maybe these new dark plates are the ones to go with because they'll make your PS5 a little bit smaller. Not by a lot, just a little bit smaller. And then finally they have a PS1 styled gray version, which if I was going to get any of them knowing that I already have the original dark plates, that might be the one I go with because I love that PS1 gray. It just looks awesome. And then alongside this whole huge update where they came out with the dark plates 2.0, they also announced light strips that you can put perfectly over the blue and orange light on your PS5 to make it different, right? You can have a blue on one side and orange on the other. They have multiple different colors. Honestly, I might have to pick a pair of those up because it looks really sweet having like black plates on my PS5 and then maybe I can get orange lights to make it a Halloween themed one or something like that. And then finally they have the skin that you can put down the middle of your PS5 that'll protect it from scratches. And guys, if you've never looked at your PS5, if you ever moved it at all, go check it out because that middle strip scratches so easily. I don't know why, but it's like the easiest thing to scratch of all time. So if you really want to keep your PS5 looking fresh and new, get one of these skins because it'll protect your console perfectly. And then the last accessory is of course PSVR, but I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy the PSVR 1 because that thing has aged not great. It's pretty old at this point. It has a really bad screen door effect, and no one really wants to use Move controllers with VR anymore. So we're just going to speculate a little bit, and I'm going to talk about what I want out of the PSVR 2. So I actually have an Oculus Quest 2, and basically what I want is for Sony to lift everything cool about that device for the PSVR 2. Of course, if they figure out a way to make it wireless with the PS5, that would be incredible. Because the last thing anyone wants, not that you can do wireless VR with the Oculus Quest 2, is wires hanging off the back of their head. And I think they could do it if they just had the headset linked to the PS5 Wi-Fi card wirelessly, but even though I say that, I feel like at the end of the day, we'll probably don't have a wired headset. So hopefully they can just shrink it down to one port that goes straight into the console instead of having that middle box to do more processing power like you had with the PSVR 1. Another thing they obviously have to improve is the screen. Now, it looked good at the time, but if you go back to the PSVR after using pretty much any other headset out there, it's going to look horrible. Now, they did a really good job on the Oculus Quest 2 increasing the resolution so that you see virtually no pixels. That's what I want out of the PSVR 2. But where I want them to beat Oculus is by including OLED screens. Because Oculus, when they upgraded to the Oculus Quest 2, they got rid of OLED and replaced it with LCD. And even though it looks really good because there's no pixels now, you still see a little bit of gray when you go to black. But if they had OLED like they did on the Quest 1, you would see pure blacks, which is what I want out of the PSVR 2. Another thing that would be great is if they can make it lighter. I saw this concept for the Magic Leap VR 2, and it really just looks like a pair of sunglasses. Now, obviously, the reason they don't do that is because you need a seal on your face to stop light from getting in, because that's what takes away the immersion of VR. But if they can figure out a way to make it lighter and smaller, like Magic Leap 2, for example, and to have a way for it to have a seal over your eyes, that would be so dope. I would love that because having the VR headset hanging out the front of your head, it gives you neck pain after a while, and no one wants that. And then finally, this is more on the PS5 side of the equation, but I would really like it if they went back and updated all of the VR games they've already released to run better on the PS5 and the PSVR 2. Obviously, they don't run as well because they're older games, and you know, having stuff like Resident Evil 7, because that's the only place you can play it is the PSVR, running and looking a lot better on the PSVR 2, which would be cool. Like, if they had a way to say that Resident Evil 7 is now updated for the PSVR 2 and is going to stay exclusive, then you would go out and buy a PSVR 2. So that's like probably top 3 favorite horror games of all time, and just playing that in VR would be absolutely terrifying. I remember I got to play it early on the original PSVR, and that screen door effect did something to my brain, and I ended up throwing up after, but I powered through. I powered through the entire demo. I was sweating in that headset, I was feeling queasy, and yeah, I threw up after that demo. So if they can figure out a way to update that game to not look horrible on the PSVR 2, that'd be incredible. I was going to say I hope they have better controllers for it so we don't have to use the PlayStation Move controllers, but they've actually already teased us and showed us an image of what the controllers are going to look like on the VR 2, and they look just like the Oculus Touch controllers, and those work great, so I'm fine with that. If you really want to take advantage of your PS5 and how good games look on it, you're probably going to want to upgrade your TV to an OLED. Now, LG is kind of like the king of the hill here. Is that the phrase? Yeah, that is the phrase. Now, with LG, you go with C1 or the A1. C1 is only 13. which is a pretty good price, and you'll definitely see the upgrade if you're on an LCD TV, even if you're going to a smaller size than what you have. But if you want to spend a little bit more, you can get an LG A1 for $1,600, and that one's going to be a 65-inch, so a $300 upsell doesn't seem all that bad. And then on the Sony end, you have the A80J, which for $1,800, you can get a 65-inch TV, which is pretty good. And then if you really want to splurge, you can get a 77-inch for $3,000, which is a ton of money. Now, the reason you might want to go with the Sony ones, though, is because Sony is adding this technology to the PS5 called Auto-Tone Mapping, which is just a rip-off of Dolby Vision, but if it works how Dolby Vision works, you're going to want it, because instead of like the HDR, it just does a baseline recolor of the content you're watching or playing. Sony Auto-Tone Mapping or Dolby Vision do it pretty much and it looks incredible. If you've ever gone to the movie theater and seen a Dolby movie, it just looks so much better that way. Like the blacks are blacker and the colors are richer, and it's something that seems like it's going to be a gimmick, but then you see it and you're like, man, I guess I'm going to only watch Dolby movies from now on. Like Halloween films and Dolby, so good. Anyway, guys, those are all the accessories you need for your brand new PlayStation 5. If you pick any of these up, let me know which one and what you think of it down in the comments below. And remember, if you want to stay PS ready, subscribe and set your notifications to all. As always, guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
No, not this one. OpenGL.
Directly from Japan is a brand new, updated version of the PS5. What, you might ask?
Fine, it is incredibly frustrating to these people who are having this happen to have the PS4 version keep re-downloading itself every time they put the disc in the console. I'm assuming what's happening there is that the software is saying, oh, a new game that isn't on this console has been put into the disc drive, right? Because if you had the PS5 version of Ghost of Tsushima downloaded, you don't need the PS4 version, so you delete it, and then you have the disc with the PS4 version on it, and the console's like, yeah, I don't have this on me, the disc is in me, so I'm gonna like install it, right? Like, it kind of makes sense. It's just, again, when you've got the smart delivery working so well on the Xbox Series X, there's really no excuse for this issue to keep popping back up. But thankfully, while Sony attempts to fix this issue, a feature has been added to the PS5 where if it downloads the PS4 version in the background and you try to launch it by accident, it'll let you know, hey, you're launching the PS4 version of the game and you also have the PS5 one, so I think you're going to want to shut this down and go play that one. So I guess that's a baby step fix when they figure something out. So if you've been watching the channel for a little bit now, you know that the one thing I've wanted ever since the PS5 was announced is a black edition of the console official from Sony. And it seems like Sony is leading up to that because we've gotten the full 3D wireless headset in black, and we've also gotten the midnight black DualSense controller. So honestly, the next thing we gotta do is just some black plates that you can pop on the side of the PS5. Now back when the PS5 came out, D-Brand actually beat Sony to the punch on this. They released dark plates that were honestly pretty affordable, and they had a different pattern on the inside, and removed the PlayStation logo. But if you look at the pattern on the inside of the plate, they had basically the PlayStation buttons. They had the circle, square, cross, and triangle, but they were drawn to look like different things, right? Like a little skull and crossbones, or like a sea trouble, or like a radioactive one. And they got a little clever with it, and they also played some Sony actually let it go on. Sony really appreciated it. Just back holidays, you hit up D-Brand with the cease and desist and said, hey, you gotta stop being these dark plates. And D-Brand said, yeah, we looked at our legal options and we're pretty confident that like we're not doing anything illegal here. We're, you know, right. They said they'll be back with the new replacement option and why. You know, the fact that Sony let us go on the ball they did coming out very soon. And coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the PS5, Sony probably wants to announce something to get hyped back up again, especially since there's no big game to call. So it would make a lot of sense to me if they came out with a trailer just randomly like they always do and announced new plates for your PS5. The first two colors I bet they'll start with are Midnight Black and Cosmic Red. You know, I feel like those DualSense options that we got over the summer were like a little bit of a teaser, and now they're shooting D-Brand. Honestly, guys, I feel pretty confident that we'll either get new plates from Sony that we can just go to the store and buy for probably like $50. bust, or at the very least they'll announce and release a new black edition of the console. Maybe, just maybe, with 1 terabyte of storage. You know, get that little bit of Pro on top of the PS5. They won't call it PS5 Pro. They're definitely going to wait till next year for that. Another interesting layer here is that Sony doesn't seem to be going after all these other sellers that you see on Etsy or Amazon that have clear plates, all these different colors. You know, they're not necessarily up to the quality of D-Brand, which to me I think would make Sony more upset, but they really don't seem to care all that much. There's just something about D-Brand that really pissed Sony off, and what I think that was is obviously them daring Sony to sue it, right? They hit them with the cease and desist. They really didn't need to do it, actually needed a bunch of money, but still, Sony was definitely like, alright, we want to make some dark plates, we want to make a statement about all these resellers and different people making their own dark plates. Who are we going to slap with the cease and desist first? Well, we're going to go straight to the top and hit D-Brand because they ripped on us last year. But if you have a PS5 that's still white and you want to change the color, you might want to go ahead and start looking now. If Sony is about to start slapping all these other cheaper options with cease and desists, you might want to just go buy a set of the color you really like. I mean, in the long run, they could release their own, they could not, and it would really suck if they slap cease and desists on everyone and then never release new plates for the console because they just want to sell a new version of it for $500. Yeah. After I finished recording this segment, D-Brand actually came out with new dark plates. They're calling them Dark Plates 2.0, and the only difference is they have slots for the fans. They talked about why Sony was coming after them, and really it ended up being because Sony didn't have design patents for the original plates on the side of the PS5, which is why D-Brand was so confident they couldn't be sued. So then Sony actually did go ahead and patent that design, so then they threatened to sue D-Brand. So D-Brand went back to the drawing board and changed the plates as Sony made. And the cool thing about Dark Plates 2.0 is that even though they had workflow which should improve panels. It's pretty simple. They didn't stop there. They said because people are attached to the white color scheme, they also have a white colorway of the dark plates. And then finally, they also offer a great version that's inspired by the PS1. But the last thing at the very end of the Reddit post when they announced all this is the light strips that they've created.
Next. Mine as well.
Keep your eyes open, mate.
Cops were coming for me. God dang. Playing without the cheats was, or should I say is, hard. Playing without the cheats is hard. So fucking hard, it's insane. I need health. I need health back ASAP. 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 Give me the limo.
I need my fucking car, man. Right now.
Right fucking now. Right now. Right fucking now.
Here's the car like you asked, man.
The video game is much more tolerable than a fucking movie. Why? Because as a video game, look, Assassin's Creed started as a video game. When it became a movie, it turned upside down and upside down. Scarface is already a legendary movie, but if it started as a video game, it will not gonna take the same. It's not gonna take the major. It's not gonna be the same major success as it was, as the game, as the because movies are full of shit. Games are strict. Games are not all of them. There are still games are inconsistent, but games are consistent, way consistent.
Oh, good.
Should I
go perfectly over the light strips on the PS5 now. So if you want to change the color of your light strips, you can also check these out. And as for whether or not Sony will suit Dbrand in the future, they say they probably will, but this time they've created an original design for the plates, and they have no basis to allege infringement. So Dbrand says if they want to try, they better be ready to pay legal fees. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't be the one to punk Sony, but this is a cool move on Dbrand's part. Anyway guys, that's all the PlayStation news I had for you today. Make sure you let me know what you think down in the comments below. And remember to subscribe and set your notifications to all if you haven't already. As always guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
I'll take care of them myself, honestly. I know that.
Tony, bring my car. I'll make it quick, man.
Sorry to this. Did not expect me to do this. Do what? Oh yeah. He used the HD slots to fucking.
Many of you out in the world are finally getting the PS5 firmware that will allow you to upgrade your SSD that's on the inside of this device. And I've already done a video where I kind of tested the limits of this, but we left that video with me having to do more part. See, I ordered an M.2 to PCI Express adapter to see how far could we push the internal storage of the PS5, and this simply didn't work. In that video, I also kind of didn't have the power connected, but I tested it afterwards, and because it simply does not work. But thanks to some of you in the comments on that last video, you pointed me to the right object that I needed. I had to buy this off of AliExpress, but this is a PCI Express 4.2 adapter to a PCI Express 4.0 slide, which means we can now again try things such as the Western Digital Black adding card RAID, as well as something like this 4-slot M.2 SSD I'm going to be trying it out, seeing that we do as a follow-up to this video if this one happens to perform well. But before we get into covering by ASRock and their X570S and B550 PG Riptide motherboards. These motherboards are the latest in their AMD Ryzen lineup, and they have things like 10 power phases and Dr. Moss. They include graphics cards holders, lightning gaming ports for reduced jitter and latency, M.2 with heatsink armor and reinforced steel PCI Express slot, as well as Nahimic audio and killer E3100G 2.5 gig LAN ports. And all of that is wrapped in the sleek package of the B550 PG Riptide and X570S.